Hello and welcome, Greg. How are you doing today?
Very well, thanks, Dan. Thanks for the opportunity of speaking with you
As
and
always.
your global mega audience out there in TV land.
So, Greg, believe it or
Yeah.
not, it's been almost 18 months since your first and only appearance on the show back in November 2022. And at the
Yes.
time, we were coming out of COVID. Obviously, shows had returned. And when I had a look back at the podcast last night, you were optimistically or cautiously optimistic, I should say, about the recovery. You kindly, ahead of this call, sent me some numbers which are going to allow you to sort of bring
Yeah.
to life, which shows actually that this year, 2024, compared to pre-COVID year 2019, Terrapinn is experiencing some tremendous growth. So maybe bring that to life. Keen to understand where you're at as a company.
Okay. In 2019, our revenue was about 68 million US dollars.
Yep.
In 2024, our revenue is 143 million US dollars. So
Wow.
that is, I think, 110% growth. Our EBIT in 19 was 7 million US dollars. It is now $32 million. So hold on. So the EBIT growth is 340%. So, that's pretty good going in any man's language or any woman's language. Certainly, well, in 2019, we had about 130 events. I think in 24, we've got about 120.
So interesting. Okay, thank you. Look, well, firstly, congratulations. As you say, in anyone's language, that's phenomenal performance. I guess if you had sat, in March 2020 when we were on lockdown and someone said, you know what, Greg, in in July 24, these are the sort of numbers you're going to be projecting, I'm sure you would have taken that.
We would have taken that, but I guess to be fair to us, we had around 2019, we had a lot of momentum, and it's
Sure.
fair to say that, like everyone, COVID kicked the absolute stuffing out of us. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think I'm reasonably optimistic. I always thought that we could recover and recover well,
So
and
100.
and
Sorry.
we're still in growth mode. We're still in growth mode.
Absolutely. So let's dig a bit deeper. So, one question that I'm sure my listeners will be interested to hear your response to is how have you grown so significantly in the last 5 years?
Well, I mean, we are an overnight sensation after 36 or 37 years in the
Sure.
business, right?
Yeah.
We've been trying to crack it for a long time, and we've had a global network, global platform for years and years and years. But I guess it's true to say we never had anything. We never had any or enough blockbusters to feed into this network. And we found one, which is solar and storage. Solar and storage live brand is just going gangbusters everywhere. In 2012, we had one solar event. In 2023, we have 6. In 24, we have 14. And next year, we plan for 22. And these are some of these events have pretty decent scale. The largest being Solar and Storage Live in Birmingham, which this year will have revenue of about £10 million profit.
Right. So what you're saying is that specifically in with that brand, that accounts for quite a significant part of the top line growth of the business.
Absolutely, it's been an incredible thing for us. I guess the other reasons behind growth, we've scaled up all of our events. We we behaved as if we'd been taken over by Closer Still, and we pretended that we were Closer Still, and we just and we applied some of their thinking to us, and we just really went. We've really gone hard on scaling up our events. And the third, I guess, big lever in our growth is the performance of our Dubai and Saudi Arabian businesses, which have gone fantastically the last few years. So, I mean, it basically comes down to that.
Okay, so let's talk about one or two of those, and specifically the growth and the rollout of the solar and storage brand. You know,
Yeah.
you said you went from one event in that sector in 2012 to now 14 this year, and I think you're predicting 22 next year. How do you go about doing that?
Well, it's been, we've been interested in solar, obviously since 2012. And, we started rolling it out. We added events into Ho Chi Minh City and in Manila, Philippines, and then into Cairo in these, I guess, in the developing world. And we just got more and more interested in it. And then one of the catalysts for the European expansion is we acquired an event from Solar Media, which was the Birmingham event, and that's been the catalyst for our growth in Europe for sure.
Right.
And then we've added more events in Africa, in the Middle East, in Australia, and more events in Asia as well, and in the USA. I guess the thing is, as I mentioned a little bit before, we've had a network or a platform, an expensive network and platform globally for a long time. So we've had we've been all dressed up, and finally we found somewhere to go, which was Solar and Storage Life.
And I guess another question that would spring to mind is, why hadn't you done this sooner? I think, previously, obviously you were a conference company. I guess that's hard to sort of to shift from, maybe more to a trade show and exhibition, maybe at scale. Talk about that journey.
It is interesting that, I think I mentioned this on the last show. In 1995, we did roughly 1,600 conferences and about 1,000 training seminars around the world. And we've gone from that, from a volume business model to a quality business model it's taken us a long time. But I guess the thing is, and this would seem strange to people who don't know anything about the events industry, and maybe it still seems strange to people in the events industry. People who do conferences don't get expos. People who do expos don't do conferences. So it's a mentality thing. We have had to, I guess, really work hard on our headspace, and it's still not there. We still need to educate our staff that conference doesn't necessarily come first, and often it's trade show that comes first, or the exhibition, the floor that comes first.
But it looks like, obviously, you've reduced the number of events that you're doing. You said in 2019 there were 130. Now there's 120, but yet revenues have more than doubled. So you're obviously getting a much bigger return. And do you foresee that in the future as well? Is that obviously the path, the trajectory that the business is now on?
Yeah, although we will add some more events next year, maybe another 10. Certainly, my mantra is scale, scale, scale. And I think for any events business to have quality, that it must have scale. I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah. Okay. And in terms of the formats of the events, because obviously very different, conference to a trade show, as you said, you gave me an insight that you've got a net promoter score, I think, to date of 33 this year. Talk to me about the innovation that you've done, and maybe you can bring one or two events or even locations to life in terms of the attendee experience. Lots of people are talking about, attendees are now demanding a more experiential experience, show that they go to. Talk to me about what the work the Terrapinn have been doing in that regard.
Well, I think Terrapinn innovated things like speed networking, one-to-one meetings, event apps, probably about 20 years ago. And I know it's really in vogue now. For sure, it's in vogue. I think what we have neglected to do along the way is to properly commercialize, especially the meetings. And I look at events like health, and I see the extent that they really health and like events, they really commercialize the meetings. And in fact, they seem to build their almost the entire proposition around the meetings and the networking. So I mean, I guess we're just gonna dive back in and get more serious about that. I guess another thing that we've done, which it may sound contradictory given what I said about conferences, but almost all of our events have very, very large conferences. Even our free to attend trade shows often have a minimum. Well, they have a minimum of about 150 speakers, and some of our events go as far as having, say, 600 or 700 speakers.
Sure. And interesting enough, I was reading the other week about Easy Fares and the fact that they've now taken on some private equity investment.
Yeah.
So, if I'm not mistaken, if I get this right, I understand that Terrapinn is now the largest privately owned non-private equity events company in the world.
That's what it seems to me. I mean, it's and a surprise here is that actually it's very difficult to find exact financial information
Sure.
about many event companies in the world. But as far as I can see, Easy Fares used to be the biggest privately held events company in the world, and they are now a PE company. So we take that mantle in terms of our financials. We are trailing them, but not by much. So yeah, that's a big thing for us. I think the underlying factors behind having that title are and the scale. It means that we can do things that we never used to be able to do. Certainly, we can raise bank finance to fund acquisitions of not enormous scale, but medium scale. We can offer decent career progression for our colleagues. It's good to have that sort of scale, and people recognize us much more than they used to, and
Sure.
of course it's good to attract talent.
And talk about the scale in some of the territories that you operate in. So that top line number that you mentioned this year of $143 million of revenue expectation for 24. So how that's broken down? Are you seeing growth all over the territories? Is there one particular area that is going gangbusters
Well,
more than another?
as I mentioned before, the Middle East has been really an amazing growth story for us. We are still growing very strongly in Britain and Europe, reasonably in Asia Pacific, and also to an okay extent in North America. Although we are underweight in North America, and we would certainly like to scale up what we do in North America for sure. It's still a great opportunity for us.
And would that specifically be through acquisitions? Because turning to acquisitions, obviously Terrapinn announced quite a few in the last 6 to 12 months, specifically in Sydney and Australia with no vacancy, Hotel Tech and Services Exhibition, and also Arab Lab, the lab technology show in Dubai. How do you go? Talk to me about the journey of acquisitions. How you find them, what you're looking for, and so on.
We've been doing acquisitions for a long time, mostly low profile things. These days we are looking for acquisitions that acquisitions that have a reasonable scale, that we can grow, but we can leverage into other markets, geoclone into other markets. Certainly, Arab Lab, we have a couple of existing lab shows, but we have plans to grow out the portfolio internationally. The same with No Vacancy. We see opportunities in Asia and Europe, and possibly even in America for that brand. And then going back to what you said about America, I think for us to be a more significant player in the United States, the easiest way for us to do that is to acquire something of reasonable scale.
Sure. And are you sort of fairly sector agnostic when it comes to acquisitions, or are you specifically looking at certain sectors that you think, have got a good room to grow?
We like things that fit with Terrapinn. Terrapinn has a certain style, and within that framework, we certainly wouldn't be interested in. We're not interested in consumer shows.
Yeah.
But we are interested in transport, energy, e-commerce, life sciences, that sort of thing. That's mostly where we are interested in.
Sure. It's the acquisition market seems to be incredibly competitive and vibrant at the moment. You mentioned Closer Steel, others. Every week there seems to be an acquisition somewhere along the line. I guess you speak to your peers at those companies. Give us a sense. How does it work in terms of getting first mover advantage and finding the right companies, convincing them that you're a better home to be at rather than someone else?
Well, that's the name of the game, isn't it? I mean, for us, I guess, we've been, to be very honest, we've been overlooked in the past. I mean,
Yeah,
people have thought that we weren't worthy enough to be at the big table or the intermediate table, but I think we've proven that at least we can get to the middle-sized table.
sure. Okay. And you mentioned before, in terms of one of the opportunities that scale brings you is career progression for colleagues. We noticed in the last year, I think, you remodeled your HQ in London.
Yeah, indeed.
Sort of brand new offices. Talk to me about sort of how you establish, I guess, a winning culture when a business is experiencing such fast growth. Because I guess it's easy to let it run out of control and sort of lose that image that you're trying to portray and opportunities.
I mean, it is a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
It is a hard thing to do, but we've always had young people in our business. Always, we are most successful when we bring in young people and train them up in our ideas, so we can so they can operate in the way that is the Terrapinn way. We've always been big on that. I've always struggled with people who've worked with other companies and they come in and say, well, I've heard what you're saying, but over at ABC company we do it this way, which I don't find that particularly useful. But it's a hard thing to do, and all these businesses, whether they admit it or not, are constrained by the people they have or the people they don't have.
Sure.
And especially as we go into the realm of these advanced technologies, hiring people who can work with these technologies, that is a very competitive marketplace, especially for companies like ours. It's difficult to compete with some of the numbers thrown around there.
Sure, and I guess so what we're saying is we're recruiting ever more outside the industry as well, right? We're not just recruiting for competent sales and event and marketing managers.
For
We're
those sorts of things. Yeah.
yeah,
But I mean, but still, the guts of what we do is to recruit young people and inculcate them, which of course is very, very hard to do in a you know in a hybrid work from home environment. To me, that the benefits of working in an office are many. It's a great working in an office. You can collaborate, you can learn, and you can find a way to advance your career, as well as, of course, this is a great place to make friends,
sure,
socialize, have fun, and honestly, Terrapinn has always been a fun place, and this environment that we have now it's great fun, and people play pool at lunchtime. We have a drinks and pizza every Thursday, and that's married with our legendary Christmas parties. For I think for around about 25 years, we take all our staff to European destinations, and everyone has a lot of fun.
recently Terrapin won a couple of awards at the AEO Excellence
Yeah,
Awards. So if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken, the marketing campaign of the year UK trade show for Connected Britain in
yeah.
2023, and also best international show Asia Pacific. How excited were you to be there, be at the awards, to get those awards? Like, talk to me about that experience.
It was great fun. I mean, the thing is, I mean, we've been operating here for a long time. We've never ever entered the AEO Awards before, and we decided we'd have a
Yeah,
crack at it, and we won a couple of awards, and I'm very appreciative of that. And I mean, that's not so much for me; it's for the people who
sure.
earned it. The recognition that comes to our teams,
Yeah,
and that was just absolutely terrific for them, and it was an
fantastic.
enjoyable day as well.
This podcast is going to go out probably a few days after the UK general election. There's also a US election not
Yeah.
too far in the distance. I don't remember who said it, but someone said it that society or individuals or the public get the leaders they deserve. What's your view on sort of world events? I guess your own personal view and the leaders that we've got, and also maybe how that might impact on the exhibition and trade show industry around the world.
I don't really want to be drawn into politics, even though I probably have some very definite opinions. But in terms of our business, I really like the labor agenda, the alternative energy greening agenda. It that should be very, very good for a lot of the stuff that we do. I guess the risk in America is, we also have energy and transport technology events over there, and I guess the risk is if Trump comes in and he wins and he dismantles all that energy transport technology stuff, that wouldn't be good for us.
Sure. So I guess you
Um,
I guess you have to keep an eye on these things because the macro events, obviously to a certain extent, will also dictate maybe some of the acquisitions you're making, the regions, and so on.
yeah, yeah, to an extent, but I guess the thing is about all businesses, they've just got to keep rolling, and irrespective of who's flying the flag.
Sure. And just finally, Greg, I see you, we see you a lot on social, specifically on LinkedIn. You're going to shows, you put yourself out there, you're investing, whether intentionally or unintentionally, in your own sort of personal brand. You seem like, even after all these years, you really, really enjoy what you do and the shows that you go to and the shows that you put on. Is that fair to say? You still got the energy, the passion, the desire for the industry?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I am still very passionate about the events industry, and I think I think it's just a fantastic medium for businesses to do business. But I'm just deeply committed to it, and I just enjoy it. I mean, somewhere along the line, I fell into a career that I guess enabled the use of my interests and skills, and it was something that I was reasonably good at. And the thing about LinkedIn, I've come to LinkedIn relatively late in life, but when I discovered its power, I really gotten into it, and I think LinkedIn is just an incredible medium for the events industry on so many different levels.
Greg, thank you so much for your time as always. Really insightful. We congratulate you on the numbers that you're going to be generating this year and sort of over the last 5 years in the growth. And we look forward to seeing what the future holds.
Thank you so much, Dan. Thanks for your time, and adios to the world.